This is an RNZ podcast.
No mai, haere mai, kia ora. Welcome back to the Music 101 interview podcast. I'm Charlotte Ryan. I'm the host of Music 101, which is our weekly music show on RNZ National from 1pm every Saturday. And this podcast features our favourite interviews, or our feature interviews in a sense. And this interview with Amelia Murray, also known as Fazerdaze, played on last week's show. So Fazerdaze, Amelia Murray, is back with her long-awaited second album, Soft Power. You might have heard her first album, Morningside, or songs from it, because when it was released over 5 years ago, it got glowing reviews here in New Zealand, but right around the world. It kind of took off very unexpectedly for her. So from that, Fazerdaze became quite popular, ended up touring a lot right throughout America, through Australia, Asia. She spent a lot of time touring in Asia. But at the end of that album cycle, it really took its toll, and Fazerdaze had to take time out. From this break, she's returned many years later with a new album called Soft Power. And as you'll hear, she has grown up a lot. She says this album is about reclaiming her power. She wanted to stop being that people-pleasing person that many of us can relate to. She wanted to shred all that worry that she's previously had. And on this new album, Soft Power, she's definitely done it. So without further ado, have a listen to my chat with Fazerdaze. She speaks honestly about this new album, Soft Power, and what it took to release it. Morningside was an album that so many of us love. I just even had a staff member singing Lucky Girl to me in the hallway. It resonated with so many people. It became very successful quite quickly. And you've spoken about how that was quite overwhelming. That's sort of like a dream for an artist to have an album do really well. What was the overwhelming parts to it?
Well, I think I was really surprised by the success. Like, it was everything I dreamed of, but I didn't actually expect it to come true. And so I just wasn't mentally or psychologically equipped to deal with, you're technically running a business as an artist, and then just the attention. I had never had that kind of attention in my life. I'm so used to being someone in the shadows and someone who's quite quiet, and I'm the youngest child, and I don't know, I always had an older sister who was the star. And I guess when Morningside started to do really well, I felt really uncomfortable with the success and very unworthy, and I was just super overwhelmed, and the work and touring schedule was a lot on my body. And I guess also I didn't know how to navigate the music industry, and there were just sort of so many very new dynamics in my life. My life really changed, and I just didn't know how to deal with it. I just wasn't mature enough. I look back on Morningside and I'm like, wow, there's so much innocence in this music, and that girl, that's the word that comes to mind, innocence. And I feel like since then I've just been through so much life.
I feel like that narrative, or the story of, musicians that get quite successful very quickly, it can often happen that they're unsupported, that they didn't really know what they were getting into. It's that juxtaposition, like we mentioned, of that dream, but yet it's so full on. How do you prepare for something like that?
I think to ask my dad for help sometimes. I just didn't even think about that with Morningside. I lean on people. I ask for support and I ask for help, and I don't feel like I have to have it all together for the people closest to me. I think before I was kind of really struggling but not telling anyone, and now I'm just a lot more honest with myself, and I have good friends, and I definitely accept support, and I let the support in now.
You have spoken about the music industry and said that the expectations of the music industry became too much. For a young musician, what are the expectations of the music industry? What did you mean by that?
Well, I think it comes back to people are maybe excited about your music and your project, but maybe not knowing how to support the human at the core of that project. And I think I learnt that the hard way, as no one would. I couldn't expect anyone to look out for me as a human, as a woman growing up, and with health and things like that. And so I think that's something I learnt during Morningside is nobody was looking out for me. And now that I'm coming back, I'm taking pretty fierce responsibility and putting fierce boundaries in place. I'm getting a lot better at not just voicing the boundaries, but actually holding them. And those are two different things. And I would definitely recommend, I would definitely support other artists, and especially up-and-coming artists, to have those boundaries. And if anyone makes you feel bad for having those boundaries, then that's a red flag in them. I've become a lot more discerning, I think, with the music industry. And I think also, like, when you have something exciting or special, like, you've got to protect it. And I wish you didn't have to. Like, I wish everybody was nice and conscientious, but just that level of discernment and self-protection, I think, is really important for navigating the industry. And it's not necessarily that the music industry is bad, it's just that people care about the music as a product and sometimes forget there's just a human at the heart of it.
Amelia, Fazerdaze, let's talk about soft power. The title, Soft Power, I love the words. It's almost like a bit of a juxtaposition in a sense. Tell me how soft power came to be the title.
Well, I was reading Michelle Obama's book, Becoming, and she mentioned it in passing. Like, she used the phrase soft power, and it just hit me like a ton of bricks, and I just hadn't heard those words together before, and I just thought it was so beautiful, and it stuck with me. Like, I couldn't forget about that phrase. Like, it just made me feel things I hadn't really felt before, and something in me was really drawn to it. And I think maybe a few weeks later, I ended up writing the song Soft Power. And I think maybe me growing up, becoming a woman, still wanting to retain this softness and this kindness and this gentleness that I have, but trying to balance that now with more assertiveness and a little bit more fierceness that I felt I'd maybe let go of as I was getting older. And like, it's sort of about trying to balance those two things and navigate the world with both kindness and softness, but also an edge. Like, it's okay that I voice myself, and it's okay that I'm I stick up for myself, and I just want to, I'm striving to have that balance within myself as I become a woman. And I think also it's like about me trying to define womanhood on my terms. Like, I felt so conditioned through my 20s and so just trying to appease everyone and make everybody happy around me. And I think soft power is about kind of shedding that stuff and finding something within me, kind of unrelated to the external world, and crafting my own version of womanhood and adulthood. And that was just something, a dark journey I went through to find that.
Prior to writing this album, or whilst writing it, you did get into, I don't want to call it a rut, but you were really struggling creatively, weren't you?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Big time.
That must be so difficult to go through as a musician when you think, oh, this is my career, or this is what I want to do, but it's sort of, you're stuck.
Yes. And I think I didn't even realise I was stuck. I was just working so hard. Like, I was working so hard on this record, trying everything. Nothing was working, and I just kept working harder. Like, that was almost my way of dealing with being stuck, was like, just work myself harder and harder. I'm not working hard enough. I mean, that was what the Break EP was about, was just being like, I'm stuck and I'm going to admit it and I need help. And so it was, I guess creatively it was really hard. I lost so much confidence in myself. Just even walking down the street, I just had no confidence. It was a really difficult thing to go through, especially because, it made me realize how much I identified my success with the value I had as a human. And it was sort of like Fazerdaze and Amelia had such an unhealthy relationship with each other. It was like I was so intertwined with my music, and it was like how well I'm doing defines who I am. Whereas like I've had to learn that that's not the case. The music thing can go up and down, but the value I hold in myself now, I won't let anything else dictate that.
I hear this in your music as well. Like, it is more confident, I think, than your previous work, and it is more sort of fiery, I think, or it's got a little bit of there's some strong energy in it. There's some power in it, I guess. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and so that obviously has transferred over into your writing.
Cool. I hope so. Yeah, I think I'm getting a bit more bold and experimental at some points on the record, and just a bit more fierce, which I think I didn't quite have on Morningside. And I feel like the Break EP kind of bridged me into having a bit more of my fierceness back. But and also I think even like Soft Power sonically, I was sort of trying to get this like this power in the kick and the drums and the bass, but also have this like softness in the synths and the dreaminess, and just trying to again just balance this like oomph with this prettiness. So I don't know. I'm glad that fierceness is coming through a bit more in the music now, because I just think that was a part of myself that I had sort of tucked away. I could feel that fierceness that I had in me, like kind of threatening to people around me, and now I'm very much reclaiming that.
So this album, it's so much you, isn't it? You've produced the album.
Yes.
And you went around sort of in a circle, like you thought maybe you'd broaden it out, work with people, but it came to it that Fazerdaze is you. You work best just you.
I mean, I think so. I mean, I did try, like I went to LA a couple times and tried to work with producers there, and it just didn't feel right, and I wasn't happy with how it was sounding. And so, but I still think those trips, as expensive and hard as they were, they did I guess awaken how much I realized I knew within myself. And so sometimes I go out and I work with people and maybe it doesn't work, but it does spark something in me back at home. Whereas I think if I just stay at home, I don't know if I get that same spark and context. So so when things don't work out, I like with other producers and stuff, or even other songwriters or whatever, I still think it's worth doing that experimenting. Because I found I would arrive at things after those sessions that I maybe didn't have the confidence to arrive at before them, or something like that. So, but yes, I definitely would like venture out, try something, come home, maybe just take one little piece from that. And so yes, it's me, but I definitely have this community of people around that I show things to and collaborate with. And but I think an important part of my process is to come home with all the noise and the advice and the ideas that I got out there, and come home and just get quiet and cherry pick what resonates with me, which is I don't know how to quite do that process with other people around, because I think I still have that kind of like appeasing energy. So, but when I'm in my room by myself, there's nobody else to please. It's just like nobody's watching. I can kind of just make myself happy and not worry about anybody else's feelings.
I was speaking with Fazerdaze, Amelia Murray, about her new album, Fazerdaze album, Soft Power. It's out now on Section 1, Partisan Records. I definitely think you should go and listen to it. And if you enjoy Soft Power, it might be nice to go and listen to Morningside, her first album, to sort of reflect and you'll be able to see and hear the maturity and the getting older, I think, or the acceptance of herself. I'll be back this Saturday on RNZ National Live with Music 101. Make sure you tune in. Otherwise, we'll be back on Saturday with another Music 101 interview podcast. Until then, take care and turn the music up.